Don't move.
Why? Target acquired. Shoot the woman. Shoot the woman.
The red laser was pointing directly at her heart. Keisha didn't see it. Seo-jun did. 1 second earlier, they had been walking beside the harbor, hand in hand, finally believing that the nightmare was over. Director Moon was dead. Keisha was safe. And after 15 years of loneliness, Seo-jun Kang had finally found the woman who had once saved him when he was just a frightened 17-year-old boy. Then Seo-jun stopped walking. His entire body went rigid. Keisha looked at him. What is it? Seo-jun's eyes moved toward the rooftops. Don't move. She frowned. Why? He suddenly grabbed her and pulled her behind him. A voice whispered through a sniper's earpiece. Target acquired. Another voice answered. Don't shoot him. The sniper hesitated. Then who? There was a long silence. Then came the order. Shoot the woman. The red laser moved from Sejun's chest and settled directly over Keisha's heart. Sejun's face changed. Run! The gunshot exploded across the harbor, and everything went black. But here's the part nobody knew. The sniper wasn't trying to kill Keisha because she was Sejun's weakness. Someone wanted her dead because Keisha knew something about Seo-jun's father that could destroy the most powerful family in Busan. And Seo-jun had spent 15 years believing he was protecting her, when the truth was that she might have been the key to everything. If you were in Seo-jun's position, would you protect a woman you loved if you discovered she might be connected to your family's greatest betrayal? Tell me what you would do in the comments. Subscribe and stay with me, because by the end of this story, the truth about Keisha will change everything you thought you knew about the man everyone called the Monster of Busan. 15 years earlier, Seo-jun Kang was 17 years old. He was the only son of one of the most powerful businessmen in Busan. His family controlled shipping companies, warehouses, construction contracts, and enough political connections to make powerful men nervous. But Seo-jun didn't care about any of that. At 17, he was still just a young man, trying to understand his place in a family that had been built on power. Then, one rainy night, his world collapsed. His father was murdered. And somehow, the evidence pointed directly at Seo-jun. The newspapers called him unstable. The family called him dangerous. People whispered that the young heir had finally become a killer, but nobody knew the truth. Seo-jun hadn't killed his father. He had witnessed something that night. Something that could have gotten his entire family killed. His younger sister had also been there. She had seen the people responsible. And those people wanted her dead. So Seo-jun made a decision that would destroy his own life. He allowed everyone to believe he was responsible. He allowed the world to hate him. He allowed people to call him a murderer. Because if everyone feared Seo-jun Kang, nobody would dare get close enough to his sister to hurt her. He became the monster, and the monster protected his family. But before he could disappear completely, Seo-jun escaped. He ran through the dark streets of Busan while rain poured down around him. His shirt was soaked. His breathing was weak. His body was exhausted. Eventually, he collapsed behind a small market. He thought he was going to die there. Then he heard a voice. "Are you hurt?" Seo-jun opened his eyes. A little girl was standing in front of him. She was about 12 years old. She was black, with curious eyes and rain-soaked hair. She looked at the stain on his shirt. Then she looked at his face. Seo-jun expected fear. Instead, she asked again, "Are you hurt?" He couldn't answer. The girl disappeared. A few minutes later, she came back with half a sandwich and a bottle of water. She sat beside him. She didn't ask who he was. She didn't ask what he had done. She simply stayed. When footsteps approached from the street, she put a finger over her lips. "Don't move." The men searching for Seo-jun walked past. The girl remained completely still until they disappeared. Then she turned toward him. "You can come out now." Seo-jun looked at her. "Why did you help me?" She shrugged. "Because you looked scared." Nobody had ever described Seo-jun Kang as scared. Not before, not since. Before she left, she took a small silver bracelet from her wrist. She placed it in his hand. "Keep it." "Why?" "So you remember me." Then she smiled. And don't die. The next morning, she was gone. Her family had disappeared too. Seo-jun searched for her. For years, he used his family's money, his connections, his people. Nothing. The little girl vanished as if she had never existed. Eventually, Seo-jun stopped searching. He had bigger problems. He became the head of the Kang Empire. He built an organization around himself. He became colder, harder, more dangerous. People started calling him the Wall of Busan. He never smiled, never trusted, never allowed anyone close, and every woman who tried eventually left, because Seo-jun had convinced himself that love was something meant for other people. Then, 15 years after the night in the alley, a woman walked into his penthouse. Her name was Hye-rin, and Seo-jun recognized her immediately. The woman had been crying for 10 minutes. Seo-jun hadn't said a word. He simply stood beside the enormous window of his penthouse, overlooking Busan. At 6 feet 7 inches tall, with broad shoulders, a hard jaw, dark hair, and scars running across his hands and neck, Seo-jun looked more like a man built for war than a man built for love. The woman sitting across from him finally wiped her tears. "I can't do this anymore." Seo-jun slowly turned toward her. "Do what?" "Be with you." His expression didn't change. She looked at him nervously. "You're not a normal man, Seo-jun." He said nothing. "Everyone is afraid of you." "I know. And I tried not to be." Her voice broke. "But every time I look at you, I wonder what you're capable of." Seo-jun lowered his eyes. She stood and picked up her coat. Then she stopped at the door. For 1 second, Seo-jun thought she might change her mind. Instead, she whispered, "I don't think anyone could ever love you." The door closed. Seo-jun remained standing in the silence. He looked at his reflection in the glass, the wall. That was what people called him, the ruthless heir. The man who could walk into a room full of criminals and make everyone silent. The man whose enemies disappeared. The man whose employees never dared look directly into his eyes. To the world, Seo-jun Kang was a monster wearing an expensive suit, and after years of hearing it, he had finally started believing them. 3 months passed. Seo-jun barely left his penthouse. Then one Tuesday morning, he heard something he hadn't heard inside his home in years. Someone was humming. He stopped halfway down the hallway. The sound was coming from the kitchen. Seo-jun frowned. Nobody hummed around him. He walked toward the sound. A black woman stood on a small step stool, reorganizing one of his kitchen cabinets. She was wearing a simple housekeeper's uniform. She seemed completely unaware that the most feared man in Busan was standing behind her. Seo-jun stared. "Who let you into my house?" The humming stopped. She turned. Her eyes traveled upward and upward and upward until she finally reached his face. For a moment, Seo-jun saw something strange in her expression. Recognition. Then it disappeared. She looked down at his hand. "You're bleeding." Seo-jun frowned. "I asked who let you into my house, and I said you're bleeding." He looked at his hand. A small cut had opened across his knuckle. He hadn't even noticed. The woman climbed down from the stool. "I'm Keisha Odom." She held out her hand. "The relocation agency sent me." Seo-jun didn't take it. "I didn't ask for a housekeeper. Apparently your management company did." She walked past him. Seo-jun turned. "You aren't afraid?" Keisha stopped. She looked over her shoulder. "Should I be?" Nobody had ever answered him like that. She disappeared into the kitchen. Seo-jun remained where he was. Something about her bothered him. The way she moved, the way she hummed, the tiny habit of tapping 2 fingers against the counter. He had seen that before, a long time ago, but it was impossible. He looked at her identification card again. Keisha Odom. His stomach tightened. Could it really be her? For the next few weeks, Seo-jun watched her. Keisha didn't care about his reputation. She cleaned. She cooked. She complained about his terrible coffee. She played music while folding laundry. She opened curtains that he had kept closed for months. And somehow, the penthouse began to feel less like a fortress. One morning, Seo-jun found her staring inside his refrigerator. "You don't have food. I have food. You have steak, expensive fruit, 3 bottles of champagne, and protein powder. So? That's not food." She shut the refrigerator. "I'm going to the market." "No?" She turned. "No? You don't need to go." I need groceries. I'll have someone get them. I can buy groceries. I said I'll have someone get them. Keisha sighed. You really like controlling everything, don't you? Seo-jun didn't answer. She smiled. That's what I thought. Then she walked away. For the first time in years, Seo-jun almost smiled. He didn't understand what was happening to him. This woman should have annoyed him. Instead, he found himself waiting for her footsteps, waiting for her humming, waiting for her complaints. Then, he began trying to frighten her. He stood silently behind her, blocked doorways, used his coldest stare, walked behind her through dark hallways. He expected her to become uncomfortable. She didn't. One afternoon, Keisha was trying to reach a vase from the top shelf. Seo-jun walked behind her. His enormous shadow covered her. She looked over her shoulder. Oh, she pointed upward. Perfect. Seo-jun frowned. Grab that vase. He stared at her. You aren't scared of me? Of you. She looked him up and down. You're 6'7", not 6'700". Seo-jun blinked. She pointed at the vase. Please. He reached over her and took it down. Keisha smiled. Thank you. Then she walked away. Seo-jun stood there holding the vase. He had tried to intimidate her. Instead, she had turned him into a very large assistant. He should have been angry. Instead, he almost laughed. And that was when Seo-jun realized something terrifying. He liked her. Not because she wasn't afraid of him. Because around her, he didn't feel like the wall. He felt like Seo-jun. One evening, Keisha was preparing dinner while humming. Seo-jun stopped outside the kitchen. The melody froze him. He knew it, the exact same melody the little girl had hummed 15 years ago while sitting beside him behind that market. He walked into the kitchen. Where did you learn that song? Keisha looked at him. My mother used to hum it. Your mother? Yeah. What was her name? She frowned. Why? Just answer. She gave him the name. Seo-jun's expression changed. He knew that name. He had seen it in an old police report. A family that disappeared shortly after his father's murder. He walked away. That night, Seo-jun didn't sleep. He searched through old records. He found the name again, the family, the disappearance, and one photograph, a little girl, same eyes, same smile, same face, Keisha. He stared at the photograph, then whispered, It can't be. One morning, Seo-jun struggled with his tie. Keisha walked in. Stop? I can do it. You've tried 4 times. I can do it. You're losing an argument with a piece of fabric. She stepped closer. She fixed his collar, then tied the knot perfectly. There. She stepped back. Now you look like a CEO. She looked him up and down. Not a thug. Seo-jun stared at her. The words struck something deep inside him. 15 years ago, the little girl had looked at his stained, covered hands. She had said, You're not scary. He had asked why. She had answered, Because scary people don't look sad. Seo-jun looked at Keisha. Have we met before? Her smile disappeared. No. She paused. Why? He looked away. Nothing. That night, Keisha accidentally walked into the hallway while Seo-jun was coming out of the shower. His towel slipped. Keisha froze. Seo-jun froze. The towel hit the floor. He immediately prepared himself for fear. Instead, Keisha's face turned bright red. Oh my God, she covered her eyes. I'm sorry. She turned around, then walked directly into a wall. Seo-jun stared. Keisha disappeared into her bedroom. The door slammed. For several seconds, Seo-jun stood there. Then he laughed. A real laugh. A deep laugh. The first one in years. Keisha opened her door. Are you laughing at me? Seo-jun tried to stop. He couldn't. She shook her head. You're impossible. She closed the door. Seo-jun smiled. He had forgotten what happiness felt like, but happiness made him careless. Because someone else was watching. Director Moon had been monitoring Seo-jun. He noticed the changes, the smiling, the softer expression, the way Seo-jun looked at Keisha. And Moon understood something. The wall had finally developed a weakness. And that weakness had a name. Keisha Odom. But before Moon could make his move, Keisha accidentally revealed something that changed everything. One morning, something fell from her pocket. A small silver object hit the floor. Seojun bent down and stopped breathing. The bracelet, the same bracelet, the one the little girl had given him 15 years ago. Keisha immediately reached for it. That's mine. Where did you get this? My mother gave it to me. Where did she get it? I don't know. Seojun stared at the bracelet, then at Keisha. You were there. She frowned. Where? The night my father died. Keisha stepped backward. I don't know what you're talking about. You were 12. Her breathing changed. A memory flickered. Rain. A dark alley. A teenage boy covered in bloodstains. A market. A frightened voice. Please don't tell them I'm here. Keisha touched her forehead. Oh my God. She looked at him. You were that boy. Seojun nodded. Her eyes filled with tears. I remember you. Seojun's face softened. I never forgot you. All these years? I looked for you. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was afraid. Of me? No. He looked down. Of losing you again. Keisha stared at him. And for the first time, she understood why he had looked at her differently from the moment she entered the penthouse. He hadn't been meeting her. He had been finding her again. But one question remained. What happened that night? Seojun finally told her. His father hadn't been killed by him. He had been betrayed. Director Moon and several senior members of the organization had arranged the murder. Seojun's younger sister had witnessed everything. Moon wanted her dead. So Seojun took the blame. He became the monster. He allowed the world to hate him, because hatred was easier to control than the truth. Keisha stared at him. All these years, I became what they needed me to become. You let everyone hate you. Yes. Why? Because if they hated me, they feared me. He looked at his hands, and if they feared me, they stayed away from the people I loved. Keisha stepped closer. You weren't a monster. Seojun looked at her. I became one. No. She touched his face. You became what you thought you had to become. That moment changed something between them. But before they could say anything else, Seojun received an invitation. An underground auction. He normally would have gone alone. Instead, he took Keisha. The room beneath Busan was filled with criminals, businessmen, corrupt officials, and powerful men who had spent years fearing Seojun. When he entered with Keisha beside him, the room went silent. Everyone stared. Keisha leaned closer. Why is everyone looking at us? Because they're curious. About me. About why I'm smiling. She looked at him. You are smiling. He nodded. Because you're here. During the auction, Keisha noticed a painting. A stormy ocean. She stared at it. Seojun noticed. You like it? She nodded. It's lonely. He looked at the painting, then at her. Then we'll put it somewhere it doesn't have to be alone. The bidding began. 1 million, 2, 3. Someone raised the price again. Seojun didn't blink. 5 million. Silence. The hammer fell. Keisha turned toward him. You just spent $5 million on a painting? Seojun leaned closer. No, he looked around the room. I spent $5 million making something clear. His hand closed around hers. Nobody touches you. Across the room, Director Moon watched and smiled, because Seojun had just told him exactly where to strike. The next morning, Keisha wanted to visit the market. Seojun told her to take security. She refused. I'll be gone for an hour. Take 2 men. No. 1. No. Keisha, she smiled. You worry too much. Then she leaned towards his cheek. I'll be back. She walked away. Seojun watched her disappear. He didn't know it would be the last time he saw her for several hours. 1 hour passed, then 2, then 3. He called her. No answer. He called again. Nothing. He walked into the kitchen. Her phone was lying on the floor, broken. His expression changed. A message appeared. 1 photograph. Keisha was tied to a chair. There was bleeding on her lip. Behind her stood Director Moon. Seojun's security team rushed into the room. We traced the phone. Where? An abandoned warehouse near the harbor. We'll send a tactical team. No. Sir? Seojun removed his jacket. Nobody comes with me. That's suicide. He looked at them. They took the only person who remembers who I was before I became this. He walked toward the elevator. I'm bringing her home. Rain hammered the streets of Busan. Seo-jun arrived at the warehouse alone. 20 armed men were waiting. They expected an army. Instead, the warehouse doors exploded inward. Seo-jun walked through the smoke. No gun, no backup, nothing but his fists. The men attacked. He fought through them, one after another. But this wasn't controlled violence. This was desperation. Every punch carried one thought. Keisha is waiting. He was beaten, cut, shot in the shoulder, but he kept moving. Finally, he reached the back office. Director Moon stood behind Keisha, a knife pressed against her throat. Stop. Seo-jun froze. Moon smiled. You should have stayed a monster. Seo-jun looked at Keisha. She was terrified, but not of him. She whispered his name. Seo-jun. Moon tightened his grip. You know what your problem is? Seo-jun didn't answer. You finally found something you love. Moon laughed. And love makes men weak. Seo-jun stared at him. You think she's my weakness? He took one step forward. She's the reason I stopped being weak. Then he moved. Moon barely had time to react. The knife fell. Seo-jun grabbed him. The fight lasted seconds. When it was over, Moon lay motionless. Silence filled the room. Seo-jun looked down at his stained hands, then at Keisha. And suddenly he wasn't the wall anymore. He was 17. He was hiding behind those market crates. He was bleeding. He was afraid. He stepped backward. Don't look at me. Keisha stood. Seo-jun, don't. He covered his hands. I'm exactly what they said I was. She walked toward him. I know. He looked up. She took his stained hands. I know what you did. Tears filled his eyes. And you're still here? I'm still here. Why? She touched his face. Because 15 years ago, you were a scared boy. She smiled through her tears. And today, you're still the same person. Seo-jun's voice broke. I thought I lost you. You did. She stepped closer. But you found me. She leaned towards him, and the wall finally came down. For the first time in 15 years, Seo-jun cried. Not because he was weak, because he finally understood that he didn't have to be strong every second of his life. He didn't have to be feared. He didn't have to be alone. He had found the person who had seen him before the scars, before the money, before the violence, before the wall. And if you've made it this far, tell me something honestly in the comments. Do you think Seo-jun should have told Keisha the truth about her family from the beginning? Or was he right to protect her from the past? There is no easy answer, because the past wasn't finished with them. They left the warehouse together. Keisha held Seo-jun's hand. For the first time in 15 years, he felt free. He looked at her. Let's go home, she smiled. But neither of them noticed the figure watching from across the harbor. A rifle scope moved slowly through the darkness. A gloved finger rested against the trigger. The crosshair moved over Seo-jun, then stopped. A voice whispered through an earpiece. Target acquired. Another voice answered. Don't shoot him. The sniper hesitated. Then who? There was a long silence. Then the answer came. Shoot the woman. The red laser moved, away from Seo-jun and onto Keisha. Seo-jun suddenly stopped walking. His expression changed. Keisha looked at him. What is it? He grabbed her. Run. A gunshot cracked across the harbor. The screen went black, but the question remained. Who ordered the sniper to kill Keisha? Why would someone want her dead more than Seo-jun? And most importantly, what exactly did Keisha's family know about the night Seo-jun's father was murdered? Because the girl who saved Seo-jun's life 15 years ago may not have been an innocent bystander. She may have been the daughter of the very man who betrayed his family. And if that's true, Seo-jun didn't just find the woman he loved. He found the person who could finally destroy everything he had spent 15 years protecting. If you want to know what happens next, make sure you're subscribed and turn on notifications, because in the next chapter, Seo-jun is going to discover that the sniper wasn't working for Director Moon,